Well, thank you for meeting with me, Pastor Steve.
Yeah.
So, what I wanted to kind of talk about was making a mentorship program to accompany our ministry to those struggling with as you already know, addictions, drugs, alcohol, that's been a big issue for the Wesleyan Church for a long time, and it's one that hits our community particularly strong. For example, the meth clinic that does far too good a business for a town this size, and just the situations with the rehab and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So far we've done a fair amount of ministry in this area, particularly with Grace House and working with the men down in Grace House.
Right.
And we've seen over the years a lot of them come into the church and make a profession of faith, get baptized, but the problem we're facing is it's kind of a revolving door.
Right, right.
We have a few people like Jeff and Tony who have made a confession of faith and have stuck with it, have grown, have developed, and are a lot more mature now than when they first came in the door.
They're still hanging in there.
But the vast majority of people, Lester, Shannon,
there's
a whole list of them who have gotten themselves right with Christ, gotten themselves clean, and then for whatever reason, for this reason or that, have kind of fallen out of church, fallen out of faith, fallen back into their old ways, their old patterns. And so the question is, okay, what do we do to not just get them right with God, get them in faith in church, but also keep them there?
Sure.
The idea that I'm proposing is to try and establish a mentorship program.
Right.
My vision would be to have these guys being more directly mentored by people like Jeff and Tony, who have been where they are before and have solidified themselves in their faith.
They certainly could connect with them on that same level.
Yeah. And then people like you, myself, or the other members of our pastoral staff, like Fred and Andrew, kind of serving more as a mentor to the mentors kind of role. So the idea is up here at the top, you've got us who are working on equipping people like Tony and Jeff,
right,
who have been in addiction before, have gotten out and have stayed out, and then those guys feeding into and directly mentoring some of the people we're bringing in from our current ministries. Like, for example, at the moment, we have Kevin, Brandon, and Dave who are all from the Grace House ministry and are fairly fresh to their faith.
Right.
So that would be at least kind of where I would want to start. Maybe talk to Jeff and Tony, see if they'd be interested in it, see if there's something they'd be willing to work on, and then try and work on maybe some way to get these guys connected and working together, and you and me helping to, of course, as I already said, equip Tony and Jeff. Do you have any questions on that? Or
I think it's a great model. One of the observations that I've made is sometimes their life choices have taken them back into that lifestyle. And even though they had friendships and relationships and were involved in the church, I'm not, as I think about it, I'm trying to, if there's really anything we could have done to really say, hey, don't go back. But I think it certainly is the more relationships that they can build in the body of Christ, the more secure, in a sense, we can establish them.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, it's not a perfect model. I mean, in the end, it's going to be the choices that they make that's going to be the main difference maker.
Right.
We can't change them. We can't force them to change. The most we can do is try and encourage and direct them towards a positive choice. As the expression goes, you can lead a camel to water, but you can't make him drink.
Our Celebrate Recovery program that we started, was for that intention of helping them to get connected to the church and to start rethinking about their life and their habits. But one of the observations I made about that was we didn't have any church people involved. And it was almost like an AA group in the church, which is modeled after AA, Celebrate Recovery is. But we didn't have anybody from the church that was interested in coming and connecting with the people who were coming. And so it was kind of like, oh, okay, you guys run your own little program over there, and that's nice, I hope you get clean. And so the challenge, the real challenge is to involve the larger scope of the church. And
a good follow-up question is, who would be good candidates for that? One person who comes to mind, Sean Hoffman. I know from speaking with him in small groups and in meetings, he has a heart and a passion to see the church become more missional, more go outside of these four walls and into the community. I think he might be a good person to.
Jason is one that's already connecting at Grace House on Friday mornings. And I think Jason would have a good.
And he's and even he to an extent. I mean, it's not a drug addiction. It was an addiction to.
Understands the addiction.
Yeah, process. He understands the addiction process.
Yeah.
His wasn't substance abuse, but he did have his own addictions at one point.
Yeah. The other, I think the men's group, and kind of threw that challenge out a couple of weeks ago, that the men's group should be. I mean, it ought to be a place where those guys are coming for support. The ones that we're trying to work with, they need that. And if they were to come and connect, then that makes it easier for the guys that are in the men's group to connect and build relationships. So.
And what might be some more things we could do to try and get them in here? I know I've mentioned before that we have men's group, and if you ever need a ride, give us a call. We'll make sure someone's there to pick you up. Is there anything more you can think of that we could do to try and
go
get them
kidnap
involved?
them and throw them in the van and okay.
Anything else that's legal?
Oh, legal. Oh.
Let me preface it with legal.
I know, it's just, and that's one of the, one of the issues of discipleship is it's a two-way street. We want to offer discipleship. We want to offer ways that you can grow in your faith, but the new believer has to be receptive to say, yeah, I need that. I want to grow in my faith and move away from the old life into the new life. And so that's why I say it's, you can offer it, but we don't have any mechanism of saying, you got to do this. You need to be a part of this. You need to. And I feel like sometimes, just for the scope of everybody, we offer several different options. Sunday school classes, Wednesday night, one-on-one fellowship Bible study, men's group, and very few take advantage of those opportunities. And I'm not sure, other than the personal invitation, which may be the best option. So but I think I like what what the scope is, Drake, of we got to try something, and if it works, great. If it doesn't, we made the effort. So I think the scope of what we're trying to do through what your efforts are in the ministry is a good direction. So.
All right. Well, thank you for your time, and let's see if it'll work. Talk to see if we can get Jeff and Tony involved and
Mm-hmm.
try and see if maybe we can broaden the scope to include some of the other guys like Sean or the individuals who come to the men's group and try and see if we can get a mentorship process going where we're not necessarily directly involved, but we're equipping the guys and they're doing more one-on-one, especially the ones who understand addictions like Jason, Jeff, and Tony.
Sounds like a plan.
All right.
Let's do it. Hey,
thank you.
Thank you, Drake.
Yep.